Today, we're diving into a really interesting question in the world of international tax. How exactly does Japan tax a company's profits? While the answer isn't so simple, it actually creates a tale of two completely different tax stories, and it all depends on one thing. Is the company a local, or is it just a visitor? Let's get into it.
So let's set the scene. Imagine a company sells an asset, and boom, they've made a 1 billion yen profit. The big question is, does the Japanese government get a slice of that pie? You think it's a simple yes or no, but it's not. The answer hinges entirely on a single, crucial fact about the company itself. And that brings us right to the heart of this whole explainer. To really get your head around Japan's tax system, you've got to see it as this tale of two companies. First, you have the resident company, the one based in Japan. And then you have the non-resident company, which is based somewhere else. And believe me, the way Japan taxes them is worlds apart. Okay, this slide, it pretty much sums up the entire game. If you're a resident company, you're playing on home turf. That means Japan taxes you on your worldwide profits, no matter where you earn them. But a non-resident company, they're just a visitor. So Japan can only tax the profits that are directly sourced from within Japan itself. This one distinction makes the definition of Japan's sourced income absolutely critical. So let's kick things off with the easy one, the resident company. For any business that's either incorporated in Japan or has its main office there, the rules are honestly refreshingly straightforward. For a big company headquartered in Tokyo, this is the magic number, just under 30%. That's the effective corporate tax rate. And the real beauty of this whole system for residents is just how simple it is. You see, it doesn't matter if a company makes money selling a building in Osaka or offloading shares in a US tech company. This single rate generally applies. There's no special bucket for capital gains. It's all just treated as regular income. Profit is profit, period. All the earnings get poured into one big pot, and Japan taxes the whole thing. It's a really clean and comprehensive system.
All right, now for the other side of the coin, the non-resident company. And this is where the story gets way more interesting and a whole lot more complicated. Remember that key phrase, Japanese sourced income? Well, what actually counts?
The first rule for non-residents is crystal clear. If a foreign company owns, say, an office building in Tokyo and sells it for a profit, that profit is taxable in Japan. End of story. It doesn't matter if the company has a single employee here, the physical asset is in Japan, so the profit is sourced here. Simple as that. But what about selling shares in a Japanese company? Now things get a little more nuanced. See, unlike a physical building, the profit you make from selling stock isn't always taxable. It only gets Japan's attention if the non-resident seller crosses some very specific ownership thresholds. This table breaks it down perfectly. Let's make this real. Say a foreign fund owns 26% of a publicly traded Japanese company. If they turn around and sell a 6% chunk of that company in a single year, well, that's over the 5% threshold. So, yep, the profit is taxable. But if they'd only sold 4%, they'd be in the clear. And for private companies, the rules are even stricter. Selling just a tiny 3% stake can trigger the tax. It really all comes down to the size and significance of the sale. Okay, so you think you got it, right? We've talked about selling Japanese land and shares in Japanese companies. But what if I told you that Japan can sometimes tax the profit from selling shares in a company that isn't even based in Japan, a completely foreign company? How on earth is that possible? Well, it's possible because of this really clever and powerful tool in Japan's tax law. The best way to think about it is like a real estate X-ray. It gives the tax authorities the power to look straight through a foreign company's corporate structure to see what its value is really made of. Here's the official name for it, the Real Property Holding Company Rule. And its purpose is pretty straightforward. It's designed to stop a pretty common tax avoidance strategy. You see, you can't just take a bunch of valuable Japanese buildings, stick them inside an offshore shell company, and then sell the shares of that foreign company to dodge Japanese taxes. This rule is here specifically to close that loophole. So how does this X-ray actually work? Well, it all boils down to a simple 50% test. When a non-resident sells a foreign company, Japan's tax authorities get to look at its books. And if 50% or more of that company's total asset value is coming from real estate located in Japan, then for tax purposes, Japan gets to treat the sale of that foreign company as if it were a direct sale of Japanese property. Let's walk through it. Imagine a U.S. investment fund sells its shares in a company that's officially based in the Cayman Islands. Japan's tax authority comes in and applies the X-ray. They look inside that Cayman company and discover that, hey, 60% of its entire value comes from a single skyscraper it owns in Tokyo. Because that's over the 50% line, the profit that the US fund just made is now considered Japanese source income, and it gets taxed right here in Japan.
And this quote really gets to the heart of the matter. This isn't just some random, complicated rule for the sake of it. It's a direct response to the way modern global finance works. It's a powerful tool designed to make sure that the value generated by assets physically located in Japan gets taxed in Japan, no matter how many international layers you try to build on top. So, why do we go through all this? Why explore this tale of two companies and this complex X-ray rule? Because in our deeply interconnected global economy, it's these rules that really define the financial boundaries between nations. When you really boil it all down, Japan's whole system is built on two ideas: location and connection. For the resident companies, their location in Japan means everything else is irrelevant. They get taxed on their worldwide profits. But for non-residents, the connection to Japan is what matters most. And these clever tools, like the real estate X-ray, are there to protect that principle, making sure a physical connection can't be hidden behind a financial one.
And all of this really leads to a much, much bigger question. As capital and companies move seamlessly across borders, rules like these are a country's attempt to answer something fundamental. Where was this value actually created, and who, then, has the right to tax it? It's a puzzle that every single country in the world is trying to solve right now. Thanks for joining me.